Hello and welcome again to Red All Over YouTube. This is episode 19 of the YouTube version of Red All Over the Land, the Liverpool fanzine, the only remaining and the longest lasting Liverpool fanzine. Almost 28 years, John?
Almost 28 years, Graham.
John Pearman has been the editor, the man that puts it all together for all that time. It's the only source of truth in football. It is Red All Over the Land. And this is the latest issue, which is selling really well, isn't it, at the minute, John?
We've had to have a reprint.
Right, okay. So where can they get one of these? I mean, are they going to be available at the Aston Villa match?
Oh, definitely, yeah. There's only going to be a couple of us selling. There'll be three of us selling. There'll be at Flagpole Corner and at the back of the Cop. So, hopefully we'll finish this issue off on that game.
Okay. And you can also subscribe at redallovertheland.com. You can see the email address there.
The thing about anybody that subscribes, a new subscriber for 10 issues, we donate £5 to the Spirit of Shankly for their, I'm not going to call it charity because that's the wrong word, but their local causes fund.
Great. Okay. Well, that's a good way to let in Paul Kahn, who's our honoured guest on this evening's broadcast. How are you, Paul?
I'm good. I've never been called honoured, by the way, Graham.
Well, you are on this particular broadcast. We're going to find out everything we need to know, including how to become a fully paid up member of Spirit of Shankly in a little bit. But first of all, we have to talk about what's going on. We have to talk about the match on Sunday. And before we talk about the match on Sunday, in our last episode, we had David John Jags on from the Ragamuffins, who has got a new song that he's written, and we debuted it on this YouTube channel a few weeks ago when we had that. I think it's worth playing again after the events of Sunday.
Darwin, there's number 9, scoring belters every time, and every red must stand behind the mighty Uruguayan. Darwin, there's number 9, scoring belters every time, and every red must stand behind the mighty Uruguayan. Geordie's Manson, Cockney's come, Darwin's got them on the run. He's out there scoring goals for a mighty Uruguayan. Darwin Nunes, number 9, scoring belters every time, and every man must stand behind the mighty Uruguayan. Darwin Nunes, number 9, scoring belters every time, and every red must stand behind the mighty Uruguayan. And every red must stand behind the mighty Uruguayan.
There he is, David John Jags from the Ragamuffins. It's the tune of the moment, I would have thought, John.
Oh, very. I thought about it being about 6:30 on Sunday evening. There was only one name on everybody's lips as they left that ground or sat around the world, I'm sure, wearing the colour red. What a player. You know, and I think he's something special. I just can't sometimes understand why he's not playing every game, but I do understand there's other players. But if he's a guy that you can bring off the bench and do what he did on Sunday, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I mean, it wasn't just that he scored 2 goals, but it caused them problems from the moment he set on the pitch. And to me, it's something special. And we have to remember, compared to a lot of strikers, he's still relatively young, and he can go on from here and scores plenty of goals. He scored plenty of goals last year, but he possibly didn't get the credit. And if Newcastle fans still think he's a shit Andy Carroll, there you go.
All right. Paul Kahn, do you think we're looking at the evolution of Darwin?
Well, I hope so. I was off my head on Sunday because we've been on holiday and we got back just before half time, and we were in baggage control, and I was having trouble with my phone, and I asked somebody to score basically, and it was a City fan, wasn't it? and he was off his head. He was like that, like they're getting beat. Oh, and Van Dijk's just been sent off, and they were all like that, like, and I was like, shit. I'm sorry. Like, I jumped in the cab, got back for the start of the second half, like, and then the cab driver was so negative. He was like that. My son said we were going to get beat today, and I was like, look, support and believe we might do it. Do you know what I mean? You never know. Like, and then, I mean, 2 magnificent goals as well, weren't they? Let's be honest about it. Absolutely.
That pass from Mo Salah as well. John and I spoke about this at lunchtime. That was something else, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was fantastic. I mean, even the Jota pass, I know Botman sort of, it came off him. But, like, I think even if it would have gone straight through, I think that would have been a perfect pass as well. Like, and,
Yeah.
it was just great to see the mentality. Jurgen always talks about mentality monsters, and we seem to have lost that a little bit last year. But obviously, you look, Brentford 1-0 down, like, we've come back, then down to 10 men, like, we've done it. Newcastle was always going to be, a difficult game because, they're building a good side there, you can't deny that. And the atmosphere is always pretty good there. So, I think that players felt that they had a point to prove, and they proved it.
I think Darwin definitely did, didn't he? And I think that helped.
I like that term, Graham. The what was it?
The evolution of Darwin. I nicked it off a commentator. I can't even remember his name, but it was not mine. I nicked it, but still, yeah. It sounds like it could be a headline for a future Read All Over the Land, John. Maybe for the match.
Well be the next one.
Yeah,
but I also think with Paul touched on mentality monsters. Well, I just think that people should look at the guy we brought on and he played centre half, Jarrell Kwanzaa. Yeah. If he's not going to be a monster, I don't know who he is. I mean, he's from Warrington, so and I don't know how big he is, but he looked big and is very articulate, and that doesn't always go down with people from Warrington, Graham. He is, and he really, really did look the part. And I've seen him. I've watched him in all the pre-season friendlies, and I watched him a couple of years ago when he was playing in the under-18s, I think. Then he went to Bristol Rose, and of all people, he was actually playing for Joey Barton. Well, you're going to learn a thing from Joey Barton, aren't you? Can't do him on the football field, but yeah, he can do. Yeah. He's managed to retain his sanity as well after playing with Joey Barton. So,
the thing is, just to build on that as well, I mean, he's a ball-playing centre-half as well.
Yeah.
Which obviously we like. And I noticed that, like, when, obviously, in the pre-seasons, he was a very progressive centre-half, looking forward and playing some good, like, through balls into the midfield and further up. So, he's definitely one to watch. It'd be interesting to see what happens on Saturday, because obviously we'll be without Virgil, we'll be without Kanate. It'll probably be Matip and Gomez, but you never know, do you?
No. I've got confidence in this lad, and I think what we should all remember, because there's a lot of rubbish talk in the press, on social media, about Liverpool not spending money. And I look at the under-21 side and I see, these are already in the first team. You see Bacetic, you see Ben Dirk, you see there's Bobby Clark. There's another young lad in the under-18s called Trent Cohn-Doherty. These are players for tomorrow, and their tomorrow is pretty close. People say you can't put kids in the side. Well, I'll just say, I can remember Robbie Fowler, Steve McManaman, Steven Gerrard, and if you go across the other end of the park, Wayne Rooney. They weren't exactly old men when they made the name. So these are the people these are the lads that's going to save Liverpool over the next couple of years. 200 or 300 million pound, I think so. Anyway,
I think obviously you think about Trent as well. Klopp was brave enough to put him in. 17, 18. that's the thing with Klopp. He's fearless about young people. You know, you can see basically with. I think Bento's going to be a superstar personally.
So
Like,
do I.
and I think to myself, you know, he's there on the bench now. Every time he comes on, he makes an impact when he comes on. He's such an exciting player to watch. And then, you know, you've got to remember as well, we've got that. I can't recall his name. The lad we signed from Derby.
Kate Gordon.
Yeah,
Gordon.
he's coming back from injury, and Carvalho's over. Did he go to Germany? I think he went to Germany.
When he had to Leipzig. Yeah.
So you're right, John. We've got some cracking young players like that, and I think Klopp. If they're good enough, it's obviously his philosophy is they're old enough, and he'll give them a go.
Exactly.
But let's not forget Alison's performance as well, that save on Sunday.
Yeah, weren't, but I thought he should have caught it myself. But as I said to Graham earlier, I said I can remember I watched goalkeepers all my life, and I can still go back now to the Gordon Banks save in the '70s World Cup from Pele. And this is the closest thing to that. If not, it might have actually been as good. And to me, you can't compare Alison Becker with the likes of Ray Clements, because Ray Clements played in a totally different era of football where they could pick up the back pass, they could do this, they could do a lot of the other things. But I think Alison Becker, I don't think he's Liverpool's best goalkeeper in the Premier era. I think he's the best goalkeeper of the Premier era.
For anybody, yeah.
For anybody, yeah.
Yeah.
By a long way.
Yeah. Paul, you
That's
agree?
I think I've got to agree. I'm not going to argue with John. John's got a lot more wisdom than me. I mean, obviously, Schmeichel was a fantastic goalkeeper, wasn't he? Like,
Yeah.
You know, the amount of saves that he made for him and his sheer presence. That's something like Alison in some respects. He's got that presence. Never mind, is he a fantastic shot stopper? I think, you know, if you see the whites of Alison's eyes, basically, you must be thinking, where am I going to put it? You know, he spreads his body so well. Just an absolutely magnificent goalkeeper.
He is actually. I mean, Schmeichel would be the closest. I'd say that. But we're blessed with this guy, and the Kane Kelleher. I can never pronounce his name either. The young Irish lad. If he sticks around, we've got the best two of the best goalkeepers in the Premier Division in our squad. You know, and it must be something for the players in front of them, like Kwanzaa and other players that come in, just to look behind you and think, well, if I do make a mistake, he's there. You know, somebody else, something special.
Makes me think as well, if you think about those two goalkeepers, which of the squad's got two goalkeepers who scored goals, basically?
Yeah. Important goals too, yeah.
Yeah.
One was a cup and one got us into the Champions League. That's not bad, is it? Not bad.
Yeah.
You know. I think Jurgen should think about playing them up front one or two times.
Well, especially if he's got two of them. He can play one of them up front, maybe. I don't know. Or put one of them in for Van Dyke during the suspension. What do we think of that, the booking? I mean, not the booking, the sending off. Paul, how do you see it? Was it a sending off?
Well, obviously, I didn't see it in real time.
Okay.
I see it because I was away, wasn't I? Well, I was back, but I thought it was a harsh sending off, personally.
Well, he'd already done a harsh thing with Trent, hadn't he? And then, you know, he was definitely one-sided for a little while there, at least.
Yeah. I mean, I know you could argue he was the last man and that, like, but you're seeing that he goes for the ball. It's going to be interesting to see what the length of the ban's going to be, because it wasn't violent play, was it? So whether it's going to be
no, but the thing is, though, his reaction. Although John disagrees with me, but I don't think it was a sending off. But I don't think his reaction. I think his reaction was bad. I think if he gets longer because of that, I don't think I couldn't argue. I think his reaction was over the top, but I don't know.
The reason I said about the sending off, it was simply because referees today aren't allowed to use what used to be called the 19th law of the game, common sense. They now have to do what they're told,
Yeah.
and there was absolutely no way that the VAR man was going to overturn that,
No.
simply because that was Stuart Atwell, who had had an absolute nightmare at Old Trafford the day before when he sent a Nottingham Forest player off for something virtually the same, almost the same situation where the player
So he
was
set a
running.
precedent.
So he said, "Yeah." So if he'd have turned around and said to the referee on Sunday, "Well, no, that's not a red card," it would then be being questioned. Well, how come you sent somebody off for exactly the same thing on Saturday? So yeah, the people who do the VAR are referees who are making the same mistakes week after week, and at this moment in time, I'm not going to say there's a vendetta against Liverpool because of Jurgen Klopp last season, but that guy on Sunday, sorry, he booked Trent for getting fouled. That's how I viewed it, because Trent wouldn't have reacted if he hadn't been fouled.
The second defence might have been a booking, but the ref had nowhere to go, and he obviously didn't want to send him off, so we had to have a word instead. I think that was why that happened.
No, but Joelington was running around doing the imaginary red card. I think he did it about half a dozen times. I don't know how many fouls he committed before he finally got a caution, but it was 3 or 4, and it was Liverpool players are they're getting booked now for just touching somebody, and I'm not saying
when it went to VAR, John, and I didn't know at that stage about the recent history of that particular ref, but I thought there's no way they're going to overturn this because VAR is refs and they're an old boys club. They look after each other. Reputational management is something that happens in big organisations, and we know too well at Liverpool what happens when the police do something wrong, and we don't want to go too far there, but they all started, it was reputational management, and we see the same with the NHS, and we see the same with these big organisations, and the referees, they're all in one club, and they're all going to look after their own. The VAR, if they want it to work, it needs to be totally independent. Like, I don't know, use Spanish referees or something, I don't know, and have them, because there's no oversight, and to have them overseeing the decisions would be better, but they're not. They're the same people who ref other games week in, week out, and that's wrong.
Well, when you think about it, I mean, the Man United's first game of the season when that goalkeeper never got sent off, and that's gone to VAR, and VAR, I don't think there's one person who's seen that instance who doesn't think that it's a sender off. Yeah, basically they've been able to see that in slow motion, look at it time and time again, and then you look at something like what happened to us the other week with McAllister, and you think VAR had turned around and still said that should be a send
and it eventually got turned around. Yeah,
the VAR man that day was Paul Tierney, who's got history. So I'm not saying these referees are.
No, but they need to be above suspicion. So they need to have a panel that are not refereeing games week in, week out. They need to be independent.
He's got history at Liverpool, and we all know him and Jurgen Klopp are not on exchanging pleasantries very often. So that's where we're at. We've got the as a person who's been involved in football for a long, long time, shall we say. And you've seen referees. I don't think I've seen the quality of the referee in the Premier Division is poor, very, very poor. Not everybody liked the people like Clattenburg and one or two others, but at least you knew where you were with them. You knew they didn't have preferences, but this lot have. And Howard Webb, well, I mean, when he refereed a game at Old Trafford, the other side knew they were in for a hard day. So he's the man in charge of it now. So you've got to. There's a lot going on, and Mike Dean, who's now the Sky summariser, and obviously getting a hell of a pay packet from Sky. He said he didn't refer something last season a Chelsea Spurs game when I think it was a Spurs player pulled the hair of a Chelsea player because the referee was his mate. And when you get
he said
that,
it. And he said it, didn't he? That
he said it. That's where we are. That's where we're at.
Yeah. All right, then.
But
away from that, then, if Van Dyke is suspended and the transfer window closes on Friday, should we be buying a central defender then? I mean, what should we be looking at? Should we be looking at bringing more in before Friday?
I personally think that we do need another centre-half because I think with Kanate, he can be erratic. And then secondly, his injury record isn't great. Matip has been a great servant. Free transfer. The year that we won basically the Champions League, that second half of the season, he was fantastic. And I think he's been underrated, Matip. I don't think he's the same player. And obviously Virgil's 32, I think, now. And, there were a few pundits making he was too relaxed in relation to... it's easy to say that, isn't it?
I think Jamie Carragher said something, didn't he, on the telly?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was Jamie Carragher on Sky. That's correct, yeah. I do think that we need... Yeah, I wouldn't be... if we go out and sign somebody, I think it'd be a good move.
I think we certainly need to strengthen at the back, and whichever. But I actually think last season Virgil was below the levels that he'd previously set. And you're right about Joel Matip. He just seemed to hit a dive, and it's not really. Although on Sunday, to be fair, I thought he had a good game on Sunday. He's not quite recovered that form of the we'll call it the pre-COVID time, because when he was in that European Cup side and the title-winning side, he was phenomenal, definitely. Yeah.
The issue as well is because we've got Joe Gomez, and I know he can fill in at right back, but he's prone to mistakes. Joe Gomez last year, I don't know. A couple of years ago, it looked like it was going to be him and Van Dyke, didn't it? Then he got that injury. I think it was at Burnley, and I don't think he's been the same player since.
No, he's had few injuries, and it does affect players. But I say, has Virgil been the same player since what happened at Goodison? Possibly not. It's still one of the best in the Premier Division. But we could do with a bit more strength there, a few more options. But I don't think, as I said earlier, I think we've got these young lads coming through. I don't want to see these young lads going out on loan, because I think that sometimes does not benefit them. I'd like to see them all sticking around Liverpool, playing in the League Cup when possible. Maybe if we doing all right in the Europa, you can give them games there. And there's also I know people laugh at it, but there's also that Papa John Trophy. You can Liverpool haven't won a game in that in about 5 years. But you could put young lads who are under 21 in that side, and I put a side out in my head, and I thought that could even win it, because they've got so much talent there. But Liverpool don't seem to want to use the talent at their disposal in that way, in the way that other clubs may do. But we shall see. I don't think we're not as desperate as some people think, because look at our attacking options. And as Paul referred to it, we've not bothered with Ben Doak yet. God, when he comes in, wow, I fear for other teams.
All right. Well, we've had a couple of comments come through. Mike Hennessy says Virgil van Dijk's just been charged by the FA for abusive language. So if that's true, we don't know what the consequence, whether that will be a fine or whether that will be a longer ban. But anyway, Mike also says. He says Joe Linton was warned after his second foul, then did 4 more. So, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. All right. So don't forget, we should remind everybody that our special guest for our next live event, and we've done a few of these now. The last 2 were Steve McMahon and we had Phil Thompson for one. Hold on, who was what? It was Steve McMahon and John Aldridge were our guests at the one we did a few months ago. Then the last one a few weeks back was Phil Thompson. And the next one is Kevin Keegan. And we've got the date for that now confirmed, haven't we, John? November the 18th. Venue still to be confirmed, but it will be in Liverpool.
No, the venue could well be Anfield.
Oh, there's a scoop for you. Okay,
So
Anfield itself.
I've got to sit down with a calculator and a pen and paper or a pencil and work out the figures. But we're going to need a lot of help on it. I'm hoping that the Spirit of Shankly can join forces. People like the Anfield Rap, the lads who do the Boss Nights, they've all had experience on this, because it's going to be, if we get this on, it'll be a pretty good event.
Excellent.
But yeah, the club have said we can have the dugout. That's not the way Jurgen sits or stands. That's part of the main stand. And we shall see.
Okay.
But more on that.
November the 18th is what you need to blank out in your diary. November the 18th. It's a Saturday night. So John will give you more details when we get a bit closer. And of course, you'll find out more at redallaovertheland.com. So let's find out more about our honoured guest this evening, which is Paul Kahn from Spirit of Shankly. And if you've got some questions, I know that have already been sent in advance, John. If you think of a question and you'd like to get on, I can give you a call and you can ask him live on the phone. All you have to do is tell us what you want to ask and put your phone number in the comments. The comments are here on YouTube if you're watching this live. Obviously, if you're watching the recorded version of this, you're not going to be able to do that. But if you do want to ask a live question and you're happy to go live, all I need is your phone number. Your phone number won't go on the air. I won't tell anyone your phone number, but I do need to call you to put you on. So if you want to do that, just put a message in the comments, just like Mike Hennessy did, but put your phone number in and I might give you a call if there's time. So it's Paul Kahn, the chair of Spirit of Shankly, the Liverpool Supporters Union. Before we find out a little bit more about that, just tell us about your history as a Liverpool fan, Paul. Where did it all start for you?
It started in 1966. My dad started taking me when I was 3. We lived 7 streets away from the ground, Clapham Road, just off Anfield Road. So started in the reserves, started going the big game, as we used to call it, in 72. And I've been going ever since. So, I've been lucky to experience the highs. I've also been unlucky to experience the lows, like probably a lot of Liverpool supporters. Obviously, there's been a lot more highs, but I was obviously at Hillsborough and Heysel, and people might remember Walsall as well, but nobody, died there, which is good. But yeah, I've just been a supporter all my life. There's 10 of us who sit on the cop together, we all used to stand together in the same place, the right post. And when the cop got seated, we took 4 bottles of vodka around, basically, to the 4 girls who used to man the what's his name, and said, "Can we have 10 seats together?" And they took the 4 bottles of vodka, and we got our 10 seats together, and we've been, we go every week. I don't go away from home anymore, really, because I sort of dipped out when obviously I got married and had a child and all that, and then all of a sudden the what's his names came in, the away credits, which ticketing is such a massive issue, especially for Spirit of Shankly. Yeah. Well, it is, because obviously supply outstrips demand, and you've got issues in relation to for the away games, you build up the credits, and then so it's like a closed shop, and people turn around and say, this is one of the debates that we're actually having at the moment. We're having a meeting with the club about ticketing. I'm trying to think of the date now. It was the 23rd of September, and then it was going to be a follow-on full day one with them in October, late October. one of the things that I'm trying to advocate for Spirit of Shankly is you'll see it coming shortly. There's 15 of us on the management committee, and we need to understand more about what the actual members want. So I'm in the process at this particular time. We've commissioned a gentleman to set up a voting system for us, where we can ask basically the members of Spirit of Shankly what their particular thoughts are on specific issues. So we're a campaigning organisation. So the thing is that I say, it's better to Giorgio rather than like war, and that will always be our position, to have sensible conversations with the club. But obviously, if we feel we're going down a blind alley and we need to take action, we will do that. Now, the thing is that, but what I want to do is build up a mandate. So the first questions are going to be, we've just been through the process of setting up 15 different working groups. It's quite complicated, Spirit of Shankly. The type of work that we do, people just don't realise. So we've got 15 different working groups, 6 people in each group. Obviously, we've got a ticketing group, we've got a strategy group, we've got away travel, blah, blah, blah. If anybody is a member of Spirit of Shankly in the last newsletter that went out, you'll see the details of those 15 groups. But the first question that we're going to ask is, out of those 15 groups, what should be the priority, so that I can make sure that we've got the right people like in them groups, supported by people with the appropriate knowledge and skills. Because I believe, and this is the philosophy that I'm open to bring, there's thousands of members of Spirit of Shankly who could potentially do lots of great work. And those, you don't have to be on the management committee to be part of those groups. So you might turn around and say, I've got expertise in this area. We've got a technical working group, for example, where we definitely need to strengthen. And there might be people out there who understand, you've got a great technical knowledge. And if they come forward and say, yeah, we can help you, we're more than happy basically to have that conversation and include them in the group. It's all about inclusivity. That's the way that I want it to be. I've also talked about autonomy, because with the idea behind the 15 working groups is instead of it just being 15 of us always basically on the management committee sitting around making decisions, I've tried to set up the working groups so that we've got expertise in each particular area. And what I'm saying is to the leads of those groups is to get on with it. And basically, you're empowered to make decisions. I've been lucky because I'm a season ticket holder. So the thing is, I don't really understand all the stuff that, the poor members basically, and the credit schemes and blah, blah, blah. But obviously there are people on the management committee and also other people who are members of Spirit of Shankly who know far more than me. So why should I be making decisions? Basically, it should be them basically saying, look, Paul, we've taken into consideration X, Y, Z. These are recommendations, and these are the type of communication that you need to be taking to the club. And that's the way I see my role anyway. Obviously, we'll see how it pans out over the next year or two. I'm coming in to fill. Joe Block did fantastic work. He was the last chairman, through COVID, European Super League, the Paris debacle. He had so many big things that he's had to deal with. And then before that, you had really good people like Jay McKenna, Frank Stanton, the great Paul Rice, late great Paul Rice. So I understand that there's a lot of responsibility there for me, and I'm just going to try and do my best. And I'm very fortunate that, got a cracking management committee. And as I said before, I just want to really engage the membership as well, and say to you, basically, what do you want us to be talking about, and what are the things that you want us to discuss on your behalf. That's what we're here for. That's what Spirit of Shankly is about. It's to have a voice in the club, and with the formation of the new supporters board, we've got that. after the debacle of the SL, we signed articles of association with the club. So there are 15 people on what's called the supporters board. 10 are from Spirit of Shankly. The chair is Joe Blott, who's from Spirit of Shankly, but there are other groups on there as well, because just because you're not a member of Spirit of Shankly, there's brilliant work that Ted Morris does at LDSA. We need him to be involved. Basically, there's 1906, there's cop-outs, there's the official Liverpool supporters clubs. So it's a broad church, and the great thing is we've got access to decision makers at the club, and we're going to make every use to be able to talk to the people that we need to talk to. And the chair of the supporters board will have access to John Henry basically twice a year as well. So I think it's a really positive step that Spirit of Shankly took basically to set that up. It was a lot of hard work, and we're just starting, and there'll be mistakes made, but we've got to try and make it work. We've just had in August we had a 2-day away day with about 10, 15, I've got it all here, basically like different vice presidents of the club who explained what their roles were and basically where, so we can understand. Basically, it's important to go to the decision makers. So we've got an understanding now, basically, of who does what at the club, and if we've got an issue in a particular area, who do we go and speak to directly? So, that's the way Spirit of Shankly work. I mean, I had a conversation with John when we talked about how we can collaborate and how we can support both organisations. And John and a lot of people aren't aware of the work that we do in the community. We run a mobile pantry in partnership with an education charity and fan support and food bank. Spirit of Shankly fund that with £42,000 a year. We fed over 12,500 in the last year. I volunteer and run that every Thursday morning. We have a debt advice service which we run from Home Baked in partnership with Vauxhall Law Centre. We've set up guitar clubs through the church pub, family art clubs. We're really trying to give back basically to the community, and not just in Anfield as well, because we recognise, John's fanzine basically sums it up in a lot of ways. It's read all over the land, and one of the things that you'll see, we'll be encouraging people to do, other Liverpool supporters who are organised to do things basically like in their area, and we'll see how SOS can support. Because Liverpool's a family, and we recognise that not everybody's a Scouser. Obviously, we've started off in Liverpool because that's where that's our home. But there's nothing to stop basically like a supporters club from Birmingham or something, or London, coming forward and saying, we've had this great idea basically to do something like in our community. How can you help us? Whether it's with expertise, blah blah blah. And yeah, we'll try our hardest. One of the groups is, obviously, when I said about the 15 different work groups, one is community, and that's what we're trying to do.
And so
you also asked, sorry, John.
No, go on, Paul. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say one of the things, the vision for Spirit of Shankly. I mean, and we're not far off it at the moment, because I think Spirit of Shankly is so well respected across the Premier League, and like a lot of other clubs are basically trying to copy our model. There's most of at Manchester, and there are different sorts of supporters organisations. But I outlined my vision basically when I took over. We want to be the strongest, most effective, and biggest supporters union in the world, and we're going on a big membership drive at the moment. We're at Taggies on Saturday, so if anybody's around and would like to join, you'll see a big support and believe banner there, and there'll be 4 or 5 of us where you can come up and ask questions about Spirit of Shankly, because people want to know. Well, the thing is that why would you want to join? And what are the benefits of joining? And, that people have got every right to ask that. And, we're there to answer those questions. And we're also looking to work with Lee Foley from the official Liverpool supporters clubs. He's based in Glasgow, Scouser, but he manages 250 supporters clubs across the world. And what we're saying is we need basically representation. We need a voice from not just basically in the UK, but voices from around the world as well. We want to represent all Liverpool fans. We want to be more inclusive. So, we're going to be speaking to Lee about how we do that. Like, how do we best connect with those people? And how can we make it, if you think about it, I mean, we've got many, many thousands of members anyway, but, if we've got up to 30 or 40,000 members, when you're going into the club, carries so much clout, like, and that's what we want to try and do. That's what we want to try and build. We've got to obviously start off locally, and then obviously nationally, and then internationally. So, and if you want to join, the other thing is obviously you can come and see me at Taggies, but you can just go onto our website, and we've also got these as well. We've got beer mats, right? So we're giving these to loads of pubs. I've just had all these made, and you might be able to see there's
join the union. Yeah.
So you basically, John kindly put that advert in for us in red all over the land. You can simply scan the QR code, and you can join there and then. And so that's what we're trying to do.
And the website address of Spirit of Shankly? I mean, I'm sure you can Google it, but what's the website?
Yeah, God, you put me on the spot. Several spiritofshankly.com. I'm pretty sure
spiritofshankly.com.
I think what we've got going on now, and I thank Paul for all his correspondence with myself. It's opened a few doors, and I think we've got something that's unique. And unfortunately, some people think that the Spirit of Shankly and this fans board can turn around to the club and say you should be buying so and so from. But, that's not how these things work. But that's how people see it. But I want, through the fanzine, I want to help. I want to work with the Spirit of Shankly. I want them to help us, and if we can help in any way, we're only a small crumb on the cake. But if we can work together, we can expand, and that's why we're trying to spread the word about them. And I feel now things on the fan front are moving. I spoke today with Amanda Jacks who's the director of fan engagement. I think that's the title. I'm not sure she likes the title, but they've been given these titles, and she's far more engaging now than anybody has been, probably in the reign of the FSG. She's doing a very good job, and I hope we can all work together, because that's what we're all about. It's all about Liverpool Football Club and the fans, and simply the Spirit of Shankly. That's what we're all about.
Yeah.
We know what the Spirit of Shankly would be saying if he could be speaking to us.
Yeah, I think I was on the phone to Amanda Jacks today as well, John, ironically. We've got a meeting tomorrow with a gentleman called Mark Roberts, who looks after police operations across the UK, football police operations. He's reached out to Spirit of Shankly to talk about Paris and European travel and stuff like that. So 4 of us have agreed to meet him tomorrow afternoon, and I knew that Amanda had done a lot of work at the FSA and knew about Mark and blah blah blah, and I've just been putting an agenda together earlier on, to ask a number of different questions about policing and how that works, obviously in Europe, and how they're going to support basically the 21 recommendations that were put forward by the independent UEFA report. So it's going to be an interesting conversation tomorrow. But that's the things that you don't see about Spirit of Shankly, things like that we're doing, like behind the scenes. You know, we're looking after like things like banning orders and stuff like that. You know, support individual supporters come in, and we have people who basically like have areas of expertise in that area, and you know, issues with season tickets and members, and there's so much that goes on. And you have to remember that basically all these people as well, you know, they're given the time for free. Like, you know, the passionate Liverpool supporters, and with obviously a lot of intelligence as well. And they just want, you know, what Spirit of Shankly wants is the best fan experience, you know, for every single supporter. And that's what we've got to try and do. And, you know, that's why we've got to challenge the club in specific areas, and hopefully, you know, they see that what we're you know, the voice of the supporter is the right one, and the act accordingly. And that's what we're trying to do for the membership anyway.
Yeah.
Well, we've had, I've had a few questions in that.
Just before you get to the questions, John, I just should say hello to Darren O'Connor, who's messaged us watching live. He says, Spirit of Shankly do such an amazing job. Well done. And Mike Hennessy says, P.S. I'm also an SOS member. Good job you do. So you are really well respected from the fans as well. It's not like you're unsung heroes. You really are well respected for the stuff you do, Paul. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's not me. It's basically the union. So the thing is that, you know, like I said, all these really good people who came before me, and all the different management committee members, you know, who built up Spirit of Shankly, you know, from, you know, it was formed obviously to campaign against Hicks and Gillette, and then, you know, the amount of campaign that's gone on since then, you know.
Well, the Not Welcome Anywhere campaign was a huge success, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, obviously we got shut them, but you know, there's things like the away ticket price cap, where SOS was absolutely at the forefront. You think about, you know, organising the 70, when Liverpool were going to charge £77, basically like for the main stand, and we all walked out on 77 minutes. And, you know, that had the desired effect, and they rethought their pricing structure for... And you don't want to get into those situations, and that's why, you know, with the formation of the supporters board, the Spirit of Shankly being able to, you know, have 10 representatives there, you know, we can vote anything through that we want, and we've got the opportunity to talk directly to try and head off like any of these stupid decisions sometimes that the clubs make, that the club makes.
Did you know anything about European Super League before it raised its ugly head, or did that just take everybody by surprise?
Well, no, we knew absolutely nothing. There was no conversation at all with Spirit of Shankly. I mean, as soon as it happened, obviously within a couple of days, John Henry had, you know, issued an apology, blah blah blah, and that was where the supporters board came from, because as a management team, Spirit of Shankly, we decided. Can't let this ever happen again. Like, you know, there can't be, like, to make big decisions. So in the Articles of Association, there are certain things that are built in. You know, they can't change the colour of our strip. They can't basically make a decision to leave Anfield, blah, 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 without consultation with the supporters. You know, there's the ownership issue as well. So there's lots of things that are already built into the Articles of Association. I mean, you'd laugh and say, Liverpool never changed the kit, like from red to blue, and then you look up basically Cardiff City, like in Cardiff City, the Bluebirds basically, you know, a foreign owner came in and changed it to red, and then you know, there's all sorts of things that you've got to like head off. Like, not that I think that Liverpool would ever do anything silly as that, but the thing is, we need to think it through, and hopefully now with us signing that and having that voice into the club, and meeting people like Amanda Jackson, Joe Kirkham, and like the different VPs that I've been fortunate to meet now, like we can say, you know, what you're thinking is daft, like, and we strongly oppose it. And then if they say they're going to come forward and still try and do something, well, we'll just be saying to our members, listen, we don't agree with it. Obviously, I'll have this voting system in place, and basically we'll put it out to a vote, and then we'll take appropriate action. Don't want to get to that point, basically, but if we've got to do it, we will.
John, we've got some questions.
Yeah, basically, this can be a collective thing, really. But David Moyne from Donegal. This is about the delay in the Anfield Road stand, and we all know the issues that's causing. It's costing not just the club a lot of money, but a lot of people as well. And David's, I'm not sure of his actual position with the Donegal branch of the official Liverpool Supporters Club, but he is either chair or secretary. And he said a lot of the official supporters club received emails last Wednesday to inform them of a cut to the already agreed allocation of the Aston Villa match tickets. Obviously, we know the situation with the Anfield Road end of the ground. Those that run these branches had until Thursday to inform people that the tickets that were allocated are now no more, leaving those in charge with the stressful situation of informing people, families, that they now have no tickets. Obviously, all of those going had already booked flights and hotels, many of them non-refundable for the game. In my branch's case, we had 4 tickets and can keep 2, and hope for a miracle in the next week for another 2. But there are a lot of branches in Europe that were allocated, in Europe and worldwide, that were allocated up to 14 tickets and have lost 6. A nightmare scenario for all involved. And I believe there must be some sort of compensation package for all those that had already booked and made payments for hotels, etc. At least then the supporters groups could offer those affected another game in the new year to make up for the disappointment and cost of this game. We also fully expect the situation to arise for future games, and he'd appreciate the thoughts of the Spirit of Shankly on this matter.
Yeah, it's a complicated one because we're already in discussions basically with Lee Foley, who runs the OL official Liverpool supporters clubs, because a number of them have basically raised exactly the same question. We're having conversations with Phil Dutton, who's the head of ticketing.
Yeah.
But where it becomes complicated is basically there are local supporters as well who are directly affected as well. So the bottom line is it's about supply and demand. And obviously there's been a this firm's gone bust and the stand's not ready. It becomes more complicated in terms of, for obviously people who are travelling from abroad or from Ireland or from other parts of the UK who thought they were going to get tickets, and now basically we're 6,000 down. But we're also getting it from basically local supporters who were expecting to have a ticket, and they've been told, sorry, you can't have a ticket either because we haven't got the 6,000 of, what is it? I think it's 4,000 down, isn't it? It's down from 54 basically to 50.
Yeah.
And, it should be 61. So we're having ongoing discussions with the club. That's the best thing I can say. How that's going to be resolved, I think it's going to be a really difficult one, because if they give more tickets to the OLSCs, the local people basically will be saying, hold on a minute, we can't go to the match now because you've gave it basically to them. And then the OLSCs will be saying, well, hold on, it's going to have to be a balancing act. And I've just got to be totally honest, I don't know how it's going to be resolved, to the satisfaction of everybody. I think that's the best answer I can give, really.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I agree with you. It's not the club's fault that this company went to the wall. And as far as I know, it's not just Liverpool that's affected. They also had contracts with other football clubs. So it is, but I can see where David coming from on it, and I can see that the local people, anybody. I spoke to somebody a couple of weeks ago and said they'd been told they'd got 2 tickets for the game against Bournemouth, and then they hadn't, and they'd made arrangements, and they were local. They were local, so they lost out.
I think what's interesting there about the gentleman's comments is that, like here as well, I think he's right about we need to have that conversation about compensation for people who've already booked. I don't know how that's going to work, like here, but we can have that conversation with the club in terms of, if people coming from Luxembourg or Norway or whatever and everything was planned, like what can the club do, like moving forward, basically. Obviously, they can't basically pay for the flights and all that. I wouldn't see that. I'm just trying to be reasonable there. But I would like to think that the club, you talked about tickets in the future when obviously the stand's been built, and that's a conversation like the ticketing group, our ticketing group, Spirit of Shankly will have with the club and see what they're thinking. I think, because obviously it's all happened so quickly, hasn't it? I think it's totally took the Liverpool ticketing operation by surprise, and obviously that's
Well,
not a good thing.
yeah. I mean, it must be a headache for them. I mean, it's something like nobody saw it coming, or maybe they did, but they didn't act quick enough. But and I'm not saying that's Liverpool or the company, but it's happened, and fans are missing out. Another question was whether there should be now a reset of the season ticket allocation. So many of us have waited so long based on the fact that the stadium capacity has taken so long to increase, and also many passed down the tickets to the family. Do you think there should be a reset? Because Graham is about 17,000 on the list.
Yeah, and I've been on the list since, when was I in Teesside? Was that like 2005, 2006? That's when I went on the... So I've been on the list for a long, long time, and I am still, many, many thousands. The number they gave me is ridiculous. I think it's 14,000 I'm away, yeah.
Well, it's interesting. It's a good question. Basically, the club stance, and this is one of the things we're going to talk to the members about, actually, because we feel, obviously, if people on the waiting list, like Graham, they've only allocated 1,000 tickets, haven't they, season tickets, basically, to the...
I did the calculation, and I won't live long enough to get to the top of the list.
Yeah.
I won't.
But the thing is about handing the ticket down as well. The club are basically saying that's not going to be allowed anymore. But lots of our members are turning around and saying, well, the thing is that if you want to retain that atmosphere, it's not the greatest anymore anyway, but basically it needs to be passed down from generation to generation. Yeah. So, again, it's a balancing act, isn't it? In terms of...
There's a way of doing that, and that is when a child is born, you put them on the season ticket waiting list, and then 40 years later they'll get their ticket. So, that would have the same effect.
I mean, the obviously the real solution, the only thing that would actually satisfy everybody is if they put another 20,000 seats on. That probably wouldn't and obviously that's not going to happen. But
no,
it causes a lot of. Ticketing is the single biggest issue that Spirit of Shankly face because you've got this clash really between season ticket holders and members, and also members in terms of the number of credits they've got, and then they haven't been given a ticket, and there's just it's really complicated. But that's why we're having 2 separate meetings with them, like the supporters board, to try and bottom it out.
The problem is, if you go back to the 1990s, when Liverpool support was, I would say, predominantly local. Even when I started the fanzine, the crowd was predominantly local. Now it's worldwide. And it annoys people when a supporters club from some remote part of the world can get tickets for the game against Everton, Manchester City, or Manchester United. They're the ones that stand out. And the guy who lives next to the cop on Brett Road can't get a ticket. So, they're the things that annoy people. But somebody said everybody's entitled to a ticket if they can get one. And but I don't know. It's a question that I wouldn't like to have to decide.
Well, the other thing is, John, is if you think about those big games, this one of the things, again, we need to challenge the club on, because they put basically these corporate packages out, don't they? And that's why you get foreign people coming in, because they can afford it. If you're willing to pay £500 and get a couple of butties in a programme, blah, blah, blah. But the average person, not just in Liverpool, but across the UK, just couldn't afford that.
No.
And that's why you get this influx. And Liverpool take advantage of, I think anyway, of the fact these massive games, they know they can sell them and make a lot of money out of them.
I know.
And there'll be a definite correlation between that kind of fan going to the match and the number of half and half scarves being sold on match days as well, I would have thought.
Well, it's interesting.
Which says something about, what kind of supporter that are going, you know what I mean? And I know John's done a lot in the fanzine about half and half scarves, yeah.
I was actually reading that fanzine last week when I was abroad, because you gave it to me, John.
Oh, yeah.
When we met a couple of weeks ago, when I read your article, and it was spot on, really. You summed it up perfectly. I mean, the likes of myself and basically people who go every single week, there's no way, we don't wear colours or anything, you might wear an independent T-shirt or something, but you never see the normal match-going fan running around in a Liverpool shirt. And you made that point as well, you've got, you made the point about Chelsea, City, I think it was, United, Everton, there's half and half scarves there, and basically a lot of their supporters call us murderers and stuff like that. Okay. Obviously, there's great work going on, and this has been you'll have seen it in the press. They're going to clamp down on tragedy chanting. Yeah. That was led by Spirit of Shankly. Joe
was it? Because we mentioned that on an episode of Read All Over YouTube a few weeks back, didn't we, John? That it's now it's now got a name. Tragedy chanting is a new name. It's got, once it gets a name for it, then once you've identified it, you've got more chance of doing something about it. Yeah. So that was the Spirit of Shankly initiative, was it?
Yeah. Joe Blott basically. Obviously, there were other clubs involved as well, but Joe was at the forefront, of all negotiations, and he's done an amazing job, Joe. Obviously the proof will be in the pudding, and we'll wait and see what effect it has. But there's powers for the police now, basically, to come down a lot stronger on people who tragedy chant. It'll be weird. I mean, I actually got a ticket last year for City away. And that was the only away match I went last year. I got a corporate ticket, via a friend, and we were. There was literally thousands of City fans chanting, basically, and the police did absolutely nothing. You could see it. You're just watching it, and you're thinking, so how are they going to police that moving forward? When you've got whole mobs of people, basically, are they going to storm in and arrest one or two?
They've got to find the clubs or something. They've got to.
Yeah. I think the clubs, I think basically if it's heard, the clubs, should basically put over the tannoy, just to make you aware this type of chanting is unacceptable. Can you stop? Whether people do, we'll wait and see. But it's about. And I said to John, I'm a firm believer in education as well. I've been working a lot with Ian Byrne, and you know, we're doing a thing called the Real Truth Legacy Project, which is an education program on Hillsborough. Been working with a number of different schools, basically, and pulling together. We've just started doing assembly packs, basically, which are going to be rolled out. The whole Liverpool City region have agreed, basically, that every school will be taking one. We're looking to get it. Ian Burns leading the fight in Parliament. He's MP for West Derby, who's led on this. I just provided a little bit of help because my background's education and bringing teachers together and stuff like that. And Phil Scratton's been involved in terms of obviously doing all the proofreading, making sure that everything's factually correct, because we feel it's very, very important that we teach young people. And also we've put an adult education pack together, which will be getting rolled out through the trade unions, so that people can understand why it's wrong to tragedy chant about.
And this is nationally, is it, or is it going national, Paul? Because I think that's the issue, is outside Liverpool, because all prejudice is based on ignorance, and as you said, education is the key to it.
It will go nationally, and we want it built into the national curriculum. That's what we're trying to do. As it stands at the moment. Ian's leading that fight. Like, it's obviously Spirit of Shankly supported, but basically it's the Right Honourable Ian Byrne. Like, it was his initial idea, and then, as I said, he just approached me to help a little bit, and I just tried to do what I can from an education perspective, you know. And the teachers have been brilliant. Obviously, we've, you know, consulted with families and you know, to make sure that, you know, that the messages that we're trying to like put out there are the right ones, the education message itself. And, you know, talking about how to organise campaigns as well. And we'd like to think that, you know, where basically there's been other tragedies, like the one that immediately springs to mind is Grenfell, you know, that people could use basically a pack like this to, you know, obviously it's a different type of tragedy, but, you know, they've had to take on the authorities, like they've had to basically like fight their cause. And if basically like our stuff about how to organise a campaign and basically, you know, who do you talk to, blah, 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 it can be applied in, you know, other areas of the country, and they can apply it to things that are more relevant to their area, really.
John, any more questions?
Yeah, a couple. One was, do we think, or do we know when the whole of the Kop or other areas of the ground may have the rail seating, if that's the right word for it?
Yeah, it's going to be phased in. This is a good example about how the supporters board works. They came to us, the club, about the rail seating, and basically what the plans were. Like, because obviously it's going to Anfield Road, it's going down to about Road 35 in the Kop, I think. I can't remember off the top.
I'd got one for the last home game. It was I stood in the rail seating on the Kop. I think I was on row 37, something like that. But I will actually say, when you're actually in that part, in that situation, it's far more comfortable than.
Yeah, I stood in the Anfield Road end part of it as well. It is.
Yeah. It's a strange thing because they're going to go basically to safe standing, aren't they?
Yeah.
Right? Now, you know, one of the issues that like our members basically, the club presented what they were planning to do. We took it back to our management committee, formulated a set of questions, went back, had a Zoom call with them, like put the questions to them, like they come back with, to be honest, they addressed the majority of the issues, or they said they were going to address the majority of issues, subsequently found out that they haven't. So, for example, there are people that don't want to stand up. So the club said to us, we said, you need to basically write to those people, like who it's going to affect, because they might want to move. You know, they might. If you're in the Anfield Road and I don't know, you know, you're 80, 85 or something like that, you might want to sit down, you might want to stand up all the time. So the thing is that if that's getting imposed on you, that's not fair on that supporter. So they should be given like the opportunity to move seats. And the club said that they were going to do that, but what we're getting fed back from various members is that the club haven't. Like, and that's one of the things we've got to go back and challenge and say. I mean, to me, there's no difference between rail seat and safe standing. It'll basically be exactly the same. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just terminology. I think, I mean, you know, it's been good as well that the Hillsborough families have supported the introduction, because that was crucial to the club making that decision. But yeah, you know, they were saying about the first 7 or 8 rows of the cop, they were going to keep them just as ordinary seats moving forward. Like, and they were going to be getting told to be sat down, and we said, like, that's just not going to happen. Like, it's just not going to happen. And they were saying, well, we're going to enforce it. We were saying, well, no, that's just not going to work. And they've changed their mind on that now. Like, people are going to stand up. That's the way it's going to.
They do anyway. Yeah.
Anybody who goes in the cop, that's the way it is. You know. So.
Yeah. But a couple of other questions. One would be, I think you actually answered this. If the club did say, if FSG said they're going to welcome new investors or sell the club to or from the regimes that do not reflect what Liverpool actually stands for, which is, of course, the Spirit of Shankly. Meaning, what would we do as a fan base should there be a Saudi input to the club? I know my feelings on it. I would be against it.
Yeah. That would be one of the things that we put to the members. We would say basically, like obviously the club have turned around and said they're considering this particular investment. Do you agree or don't you agree? If you see some of the stuff that's been posted on Twitter about us, like accusing us of being racists and all sorts of things, because, you know, obviously we're all socialists, so, you know, we don't really agree with you know, regimes that practice, value, or implement, you know, certain things that just go against the grain, really. But there are obviously members there that just want the money.
Exactly.
So they've still got to be listened to. You know, we've still got to listen to them. So you can't ignore people like who've got that point of view. So it would be one that, you know, as it stands at the moment, it's not a question that needs to be answered because we don't know. But we would definitely put it to our membership and say, you know, we go into the club and say, this is what our membership have turned around and said. Yeah.
One final question, which is more light-hearted. Who do you feel deserves a statue at Anfield?
Wow. Well, obviously we've got the Shankly statue, haven't we?
Yeah.
Like, who else?
And Kenny's got a stand.
Kenny's got a stand.
Rob Paisley and Emmeline have got the founding father's got his bus there somewhere on the fan park.
Well, let me be diplomatic. I would suggest that let's hope basically we're going to win a couple more Champions Leagues, a couple more leagues under Jurgen Klopp. You don't believe this year.
Yeah, I'd love to be there when it was unveiled. You could maybe 2 years time. Yeah.
let's hope so. Like, and knowing the man is, you know, he wouldn't want one, would he? Like,
his features have changed that much since he's been with us. You know, his teeth, his glasses, his hair.
Who knows what he'll look like in a couple of years' time?
Don't know what he'd look like. Yeah, but on that, well, you know, you've answered everything, and you've given us a fantastic insight to the Spirit of Shankly. And I just want to say, I want to work with you. I've always wanted to work with the Spirit of Shankly. My own background, as I said to you when I met you, I'm from the left side of the socialist world, so that's always been my belief. I've stood up for the working classes and all the rest of it, and I do actually listen to the other side. You know, not a lot. I mean, I thought Nadine Dorris or whatever her name is. That's the first time she's actually spoke sense the other day when she called Richie Sunak some names. They were fantastic. Now go back into your whole, you know. That was it. Yeah, you know. But from the fanzine point of view, it would help us if we had you on our side promoting us, and we can promote you. You're far bigger than we are. Far bigger.
It's not about size, basically. Like, it's about supporting like-minded people.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. And the thing is obviously we met, great conversation. What we're trying to do, you know, we promoted that gentleman's book. You asked us to do that the other week.
Yeah.
Obviously, you were kind enough to put that advert basically in the fanzine. We'll help basically to promote the Kevin Keegan event, and that's the way it should be. Like, you know, we're all Liverpool fans at the end of the day, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're all here to support.
I mean, I'd love. You've got some great, shall we just call them authors on your board. I mean, Pete Hooton springs to mind. You know, I've actually got a copy of the end here, the whole compilation, the whole book that Pete was part of.
Yeah, I've got that book as well.
I have actually loaned it from John Mackin, who's got 2 copies. So you know, and he was at the beginning. The end was at the beginning of the fanzine world. So people like that can contribute to us and say what's going on. And as I mentioned off air, Steph from down London. These are people who can just express in words far better than I can what's going on, and we need that. We need to spread the word. We need to.
You know, basically, if you want somebody to write an article, basically, we'll get somebody to write an article. It's simple as that. Well, one of the things I was just going to ask.
The deadline for the next one's next week, but I can. Yeah, I'd love something.
Oh, I don't know. I'll try. Like, let's talk offline about what you know, you'd like somebody to talk about, and then I'll think about who the most appropriate person is, basically, to write something. One of the things I was just going to ask you, I'll send it over to you, is obviously, you know, I'm part of Fan Support and Food Banks as well. Like, I'm on the management team of that, and we're organising a hunger march in Liverpool, like on the 23rd of September. It's a national thing in support of the Right to Food campaign. Like, we're asking cities right across the country basically to march to highlight the food poverty. And I didn't know whether you might be able to put something like that. Like,
Definitely. Definitely. Not only that, I'll come and take part. So,
well, I'll WhatsApp you basically and then maybe that's what we could put in. We could put something in about SOS supporting the Right to Food campaign and
well, we went along to the my other half, Mary. We went along to the Pride March, and it was fantastic. The weather held out. It was a very colourful day, but you got the chance to see people being themselves. And it was really, really tremendous. And I met people from cop-outs, and it was good. It was good, and you just felt so welcome. And and I've said one thing Liverpool can do is put these events on. You know, it's like this Eurovision Song Contest. I regret not going into Liverpool on the day, but we had something else on. But we went to the Pride March, and we felt proud to be there, and that's how it should be. That's how it should be. Everybody should be able to express themselves, and but the Hunger March, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
something else at the moment.
obviously we were at the Pride March as well. We got a Spirit of Shankly banner made basically in support, and we got T-shirts and badges as well. Like, and we were giving them out and stickers and all sorts of stuff. Like, so yeah. Obviously, I didn't see you that day, but we were there.
Well, there were several thousand, yeah. And I just felt it was great. And we went into Matthew Street, and people from the march were walking up and down there. It just added so much colour to the city. And that's, yeah, so nobody does it like Liverpool. That's a fact. And it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Thanks.
All right.
Well,
tonight's been brilliant. Paul Kahn, thank you very much for coming on and telling us about Spirit of Shankly. It's spiritofshankly.com, and if it's not that, you'll Google it and find out what it is. And you're looking for members. How much does it cost to be a member?
£10 and £5 basically for kids. So
right, and that gets you a year's membership.
Yeah, and you'll get a badge and basically a little welcome pack and stuff. So
brilliant. The fanzine is read all over the land. John Pearman's been the editor since the very beginning, almost 28 years ago. It's the longest lasting. It's the only surviving Liverpool fanzine. Until next time, thanks again. Remember, you'll never walk alone.
What about maybe mention Nunes again, just before
you want a bit of that? You want a bit of that, John? A bit of
Nunes.
Are we doing requests now, are we? Okay, this is David John Jags from the Ragamuffins. When I push the right thing, here we go.
Darwin Nunes, number 9, scoring belters every time, and every red must stand behind the mighty Uruguayan. Darwin Nunes, number 9, scoring belters every time, and every red must stand behind the mighty Uruguayan. Geordies, Manx and Cockneys come, Darwin's got them on the run. He's out there scoring goals for a mighty Uruguayan. Darwin Nunes, number 9, scoring belters every time, and every man must stand behind the mighty Uruguayan. Darwin Nunes, number 9, scoring belters every time, and every